All right, it's a beautiful time on television again, the way we always have it every Monday on this channel. The program is Africa Discourse. My name is Evans Nokuge. Well, I want to personally start this afternoon to say a very, very big congratulations to my CMD. Talking about Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Usawa Ibnedio on this auspicious date, auspicious occasion of your 89th birthday. We say happy birthday, sir. And of course, we join the host of all that have been celebrating you for quite some days now to say that God Almighty will give you many years in good health in Jesus' name. So we say very big congratulations to you as you celebrate. So 89 is this year. Next year, by the special grace of God, we're going to be celebrating 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, even 130, 150 plus by the special grace of God. We say congratulations to you. All right, so the program is Africa Discourse on Independent Television. I have to do that celebration for my Chief Executive Director, talking about Chief Usawa Ibnedio. All right, so today on the program on Africa Discuss, we are going to be looking at one big question that has continuously been on the lips of, Africa politicians and, of course, people that ordinarily they just monitor the situations in Africa, most especially the recent coup issues that we'll be having in Africa. And not just coup, it appears that it has somehow been more with former French colonies. And if we take account now with what happened in Burkina Faso and also the one that happened in Gabon recently, that's about the 7th African country, the 7th African French colony, former French colony that the military has taken over, military coup in French colonies in Africa. What is responsible for all this? And of course, what is the effect? And how do we begin to look at solutions to all this? That's what we're going to be talking about today on the program Africa Discourse. Well, I'm being joined now by Nowita Egbotako, who is right here, a foremost serial author, and of course, a conflict resolution expert. So you're welcome to the program Africa Discourse.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. And of course, I have a big brother friend talking about Dr. Logat Sado, who is joining us via Zoom. He's in UK. Doctor, good afternoon. Nice to have you on the program, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Evans, and good afternoon, great people of Edo State and Nigeria in general.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Perhaps you may also want to start by also saying one or two things about our chief who is celebrating his 89th birthday today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evans, for this great privilege. I'd like to join millions of people all over the world to congratulate the Sama of the universe, His Excellency Chief Dr. Gabriel Usawa Ibnedio, on the occasion of his 89th birthday. The Esama represents the symbol of greatness to the Benin Kingdom, and permit me to say that he is one of the very few who have used their resources to place the great Benin Kingdom in the world map. And on a day like this, we rejoice with him and we wish him more years in health and in peace, and that God will grant him the desires of his heart and continue to bless him, because he has remained a blessing to not just the Benin people or to the great kingdom of Benin, but he has remained a blessing to the black world. And I'm so proud that I am from the same state with the great Esama. Congratulations, sir.
All right. So words will continuously keep on pouring in for our Esama. I know with Butako, you also want to say one or two congratulations to.
I want to use opportunity to wish an enigma, an extraordinary fellow, one of the greatest to come out of this part of the world. Happy 89th birthday. Congratulations, sir.
Okay.
You have done well for your generation, you have done well for Benin people, you have done well for Benin race, and may your days be longer than expected. Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah, in Jesus' name, amen. Those are the prayers for the big man who's celebrating its life birthday in Nigeria, and of course, in Benin City. All right, so let's keep the topic for today, talking about reasons why we have more military coup in former French colonies in Africa. Now, I'm going to be starting with you, Dr. Logat Sadu. I know that you follow issues in Africa. From your own perspective, what do you think is the basic reason why we tend to have had more coup in African colonies, in French colonies in Africa compared to maybe the British colonies?
Thank you once again for having me. I will just delve straight to the point. The French colonies, like we know, represent some of the poorest group of persons in the world, not just in Africa, primarily because of the way their former colonizer, in which case France, manages their affairs and interrupts the political process in these countries. You know, the French government introduced what is referred to as the doctrine of assimilation and the doctrine of association. The point here is that what the French government operates in their former colonies is more like a quasi-colonialism, in which case they have granted them independence, but they still control their former colonial territories by regulating their finances. They regulate their central banks, they regulate their economy, and a great percentage of their foreign reserves are kept with the French National Bank, which is the French central bank. Now, all of these interference and manipulations are some of the reasons why it appears as if the French people are tired of their incursion into their polity. Now, but they are not working in isolation. They are working in connivance with the political elites in their former colonies. And so these political elites rely on the French government to support them to secure power and to remain in power almost indefinitely. The case of Cameroon is still there, looking at us and staring at us. The case of Gabon that we just talked about, where a father has ruled for over four decades and the son has taken over and wants to rule and has continued to rule until the military incursion, can only bet nothing but military intervention. The point here is that the former French colonies appear to be saying enough is enough. So what took place in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and down recently in Gabon, it's a clear indication of the fact that the people of the former French colonies, represented by their military elites, are tired of France's manipulation and interference with their polity, and they are tired of their own political elites who are sold out, who cave into the demand of the French colonialists and, of course, continue to manipulate them. So in a nutshell, it's a reaction against neo-colonialism, France's pattern of neo-colonialism. The people are reacting and they are using their military powers, their military citizens, to say enough is enough. It is therefore now left for us to see if whether or not, after the military takeover, whether France can still manipulate the military elite and continue to subjugate their former colonies. So that's why I think that we are having more of military incursion in politics in former France colonies than in British colonies. That is not to suggest that the leadership in former British colonies appear to be better than that of the French colonies. The truth must be told. However, I think that majority of the former French colonies are tired and they are more outspoken and they appear to be agitating for something better than what they are getting currently. Okay. These two opinions, I think, are the reasons why we have the interference in their politics by military elites.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know, because the solution that we're probably giving to this revolution now, this situation now, talking about the way French has colonized some of this country, military solution, to some persons is not probably the best way of trying to maybe reorganize the situation. Now, can we have alternative ways of maybe trying to let the French know that, hey, we don't want this kind of colonization anymore, rather than military making incursions? Because we're talking about civil rule here, civil political rule space here.
Before I talk about that, maybe we should define what civil rule is. What is operating in Gabon, or what was operating in Gabon, is more like a monarchy than a civil rule. A monarchy that superimposes itself on the people and then uses its political power to change the laws and the constitution to make it look like a civil rule or a democracy. That in itself does not represent democracy. And that appears to run through not just the former French colonies, but across the whole of Africa, where people seize power, launder the power and make it look like it is a rule of law or it is a democratically elected government. I think we should call a spade by its name. What is presently happening in most African countries is far from the rule of law, it's far from politics, it's far from civil rule. It is more of laundering, it is more hijacking power by all means and using state power and state resources to launder such power to make it look like it's a civil rule. Having said that, we condemn and we refuse military incursion in all its ramifications. That is because we believe that as individuals, we can sit on the dialogue table and resolve our issues amicably. However, the truth must be told here that the average African politician, the political elite, has so much emancipated the African electorates and the African people to the point where they are helpless, and not just helpless, they are hopeless. And therefore, it would appear to me that the military intervention is a last resort where every attempt has been made and has been tried to resolve issues, to make sure that the rule of law is upheld, to make sure that the sanctity of the Constitution is upheld. When that fails, then it's like talking about the justification of war. The theory of the justification of war simply would suggest that when all other options have failed, war becomes justified and it becomes inevitable. So if we want to say that military incursion is bad, which it is, our political elites in Africa must understand that when all options are exhausted, when people go through the courts and go through the established laws of the land, and those laws are manipulated, and people change constitutions so that they can become life presidents, people change electoral laws so as to bring in their candidates, then we are inadvertently calling for the intervention. I don't want to even call it intervention, the interruption of the political process by the military.
Okay. All right. So the topic, we are really looking at the effects of this military incursion in French colonies now. Now, with what is happening recently, it is probably the first time that people really don't think. They don't want to know what are the effects of military takeover. I mean, with what we saw in Burkina Faso and also in Gabon, whereby people troop out to celebrate, even in Niger, whereby people troop out to celebrate military coming into power. Now, is it that the people are really, really willing to undermine the effects of military coming into governance, Dr. Sado?
The people have tested both. You'll agree with me that Africa has seen both sides of the coin in the past. We have experienced political rule and we have experienced military rule. And now the wave of civil rule coming back. One would expect that with the dawn of the 21st century, where the entire world began to say we must all go to civil rule, we must all practice democracy, and everyone started talking about the benefits and the blessings associated with democracy, one would expect that African leaders should also lead and provide the leadership that will transform our natural resources into wealth, transform our huge population into wealth and benefits. But the reverse is the case. So what you saw in Gabon, in Niger or in Burkina Faso, the people troop into the streets, is an expression of the inner feelings, of the frustrations associated with the kind of leadership that you find in those countries. When people are so impoverished to the point where they can barely survive, when people are so impoverished to the point where they cannot meet their basic needs, where they are sleeping on the streets, where they need to go to rubbish spaces to get food to eat, where people need to fight and queue for what they call palliatives, then you can be certain that anything that suggests a better option to them is what they will grab. I am not in any way justifying military intervention. Neither am I saying that military approach is the best approach in politics. But you see, when you have tested both parts and you have experienced certain challenges, chances are that you are likely going to have such issues. And so the people are responding in excitement, in anticipation of a better future. It's not like the people are happy because the military will give them. They are just hoping that perhaps this military will be better than the present civilian administration. So it's more like an anticipated excitement. It's more like a projection into the future, hoping that, look, the inhumanity of the political elites would have been overcome by the military, who have seen both sides. And in any case, you see, the military have been in power before, and they know that those who ruled in the past gave them bad names. These new military elites may just shock the world and begin to make the world rethink on the need to have a military government to rule. You see, the essence of government, like in our constitution in Nigeria, the primary goal and aim of government is to ensure security of lives and property and the welfare of the citizens. Now, if a military guarantees that better than a civilian.
All right, Dr. Sado, because by just some few minutes from now, we're going to be going on break so that we can also let you go. I understand that you had work, you had to take this time out so that you can be with us on the show this afternoon. Now, quickly, now, do you think the military can really bring some form of respite to governance in Africa, most especially in these French colonies? Dr. Sado, quickly.
I think they can, if they want to. It's a matter of choice. As much as I think the military can, I also think that the civilian rule can. It's a matter of choice. Whoever decides and chooses to improve the lives and the conditions of the citizens of these former French colonies will become the hero. So if the military becomes the hero, good for them and good for the former French colonies. But if they prove otherwise also, it will also push. You see, each time the military intervenes, it pushes the people backward. It is therefore left for this present military elite to either write their name in gold by improving the lives and conditions of the citizens of the Gabonese, those in Burkina Faso and in Niger, or they go down history as people who interrupted a process that was ongoing.
Okay. All right. So I want to say a very big thank you, Dr. Logat Sado, for finding time to join us on the program Africa Discourse this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. All right. So we'll take a short pause now, and when we return, we're still going to be looking at the topic of the day, looking at the reasons why we'll have, more military incursions, more military takeover in former French colonies compared to the British colonies in Africa. We still have we have Nowita Igbutako here, a serial author, and of course an international renowned resolution expert, conflict resolution expert. So when we return, he's also going to be bearing his mind on some of the issues. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you so much. Here the program Still Africa Discourse on Independent Television with Evans Nukoge. Now we have Nowita Igbutako. He is with us on this program this afternoon. Why military coup in former French colonies in Africa is what we're looking at, Nowita Igbutako. Now, from your own perspective, what do you think are the reasons? Are they far from what the former guest just talked about?
No, the reasons are not far from what the former guests, highlighted. We have the situations in the French Francophone countries, going on because of the overbearing nature of France. France, we can remember that during colonialism, France instituted a policy of assimilation, and friendship, so to say. It was put in place to control those countries under his zone of influence, Francophone countries, so to say. And that was during colonialism. And when the waves of independence was sweeping across Africa, and the powers that be in Paris, the French government, they had to follow the waves of change.
The waves of colonization.
Yeah. The wave of independence. Yeah. The wind of independence, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You know, and when they saw that people were agitating, even in the English speaking, even in the Anglophone, you know, the colonies,
yeah.
They were agitating, they want freedom, They say, okay, you want freedom. They allow so-called freedom to progress, so to say. But we know that the people under the French colonization were not free. So when what we see is a kind of phony independence, they were not free. You just put a sign, you remove the sign, put independence. But the same structure of colonialism is still there. I want to tell you that.
When you say they were not free, that they were not free to have their own governments, or they were not free, in what sense?
What happened is this. The French colonial masters, when they saw the wind of change blowing across Africa, they said, okay, there was nothing they could do than to allow the wind to blow. The wind blew of independence, but the wind independent did not come to Francophone countries. That is what I'm trying to explain. They were not really free. They just change, it just like a camouflage, a kind of facade. You just remove, just like when you have the cinema, the screen. Scene 1, scene 2. Scene 1 was assimilation policy of French government. Scene 2, to me, as the same assimilation policy.
But association policy.
Association policy, because freedom was not there. Real independence was not there. So that's why we see here in those Francophone countries, the overbearing nature of French colonial power, imperialism at work. One of the crudest. When that's one of the crudest, it is not even sophisticated. You have a situation whereby the French power, Paris, so to say, Paris, the
influence of the French power now,
the Paris
on these colonies.
This colony is still there.
Yeah.
But you see a situation whereby they control the economy, they control the politics, they control the currency, they make the currency that goes into different countries. Is that sovereignty? That is not sovereignty.
Yeah, but what do you think may have happened to these French colonies? I mean, proud to military incursions now, we did not even see any protestation. Take, for example, in Gabon. We didn't hear that the Gabonese came out, they started protesting that, look, there's so much French influence on our government. We don't want people, you go away. Until the military started coming into power through coup. So what do you think has happened to these colonies?
What happened until recently? The sitting, political arrangement were able to silence opposition forces, were able to imprison, so to say, the populace. They have security forces. They are monitored. In fact, for instance, the guy that took over power now
in Gabon,
was commander-in-chief. Imagine.
We understand that he is even a cousin to Ali Bongo.
He was given the appellation, commander-in-chief of the security forces. The guy is at sea, he's at his own sea, security sea. That the former president Ali Bongo gave him such powers to be in charge of security, to imprison the people, to suffocate them, so that they cannot organize any type or any situation of protestation. So it was internal colonialism being manipulated from Paris to subjugate the people in these countries. So that what happened. It's just that the guy in Gabon now just felt it was time for a change of guard.
To strike,
so to say. He said, hi, gentlemen, he looked at himself. I am commander-in-chief of the security forces of my country. And as he said in his first broadcast, he said Ali Bongo is not fit. Ali Bongo is limping his own legs. And the man wants to continue. How can he continue? You will not to ask me, where has he been?
All these 40, 45 years
he was,
of the Bongos family.
He was subservient. He was loyal to the local balance in Nigeria. He was loyal to the core. But divine forces have people doing things. I'm sure the time came for the people to exercise, to experience some respite. That was why General Breeze in Gwema, in Gabon, for instance, had to strike the way he struck.
Yeah.
So there's nothing special. He would have struck long ago because he had had all the security apparatus, but a failure. Imagine commander-in-chief of security forces. We don't even have it in Nigeria. You dare not do it in Nigeria like that. What you have is
chief of defense
staff, general in charge of brigade of guards.
Yeah.
You come and put somebody at parallel with the president, commander-in-chief of the security forces in Gabon. That won't happen.
Okay. Now let's begin to look at the
even in Niger, that won't happen.
Yeah.
The guy that overthrew Mohamed Bazoum was the head of the elite guard. He was so powerful, and they were subjugating the people.
Now, let's begin to look at the effects of this military coup. I mean, the effects are quite enormous. In Sudan, as we speak now, in South Sudan to be specific now, they've still not been able to return that country back to civil rule. Now, a little wonder, don't you think there are more grievous effects in military regime in these countries compared to where these countries are coming from?
I don't really understand. The question again.
That there are more effects now in military regimes in these countries compared to where these countries are coming from, like in Sudan, South Sudan, where military take over. The Abdul Rahman and the other man now in Sudan still trying to return the country back to civil rule, and they've not been able to do that.
What we see is very clear. For instance, we were here the other day, we were discussing Niger. And I remember I said that this guy that does overthrown Bazoum is not a fantastic guy. I said it on here. You know, for me, most of them are opportunists. Our guests who just led this in mentioned it, that it's a question of choice. He used that phrase. If you want to rule positively, it's a question of choice. You want to rule negatively. And there's nothing spectacular, talking of civilian rule and military rule, given the ruination, the savage political situation we have in Africa. It's political savagery. I see political savagery in a situation whereby there's a government in place, the government cannot take care of the people. The government subjugate the people. The government enslave the people. You call that a government under a civilian, a faculty called civilian administration? To me, that is not a government. According to the last speaker, he said it's a question of choice. We have not seen fantastic civilian administrations in most of African countries. I've not seen fantastic. Okay, look at what this guy is doing in Rwanda now. The guy is more like it's a military dictatorship. Our man in Rwanda.
In Rwanda?
Kagame. What we have there is a semblance of democracy. It's not a democratic rule. That man is a dictator by excellence.
Yeah, but in Rwanda, people say that Rwanda seems to be the best.
That is what I'm trying to say. That the man is just choosing to be pro-people.
Yeah, but when you say ruling like a dictator...
because the man, there is no serious democracy there. We know what is happening there.
People are comfortable with it. I mean,
because
Rwanda seems to be...
Because he has choosing to side with the people. Yeah, choosing to side with the people. So what will be happening all over Africa is a situation whereby the political leadership don't refuse to side with the people. They are siding with themselves, with their wives, with their boyfriends, and with themselves.
Okay. All right.
So that is the situation. So it's a matter of choice. Now, what is happening in Africa? I don't see citizens of Africa looking at democracy or military rule. Because what they want a responsible government. They want a government that will be interested in their affairs, in their welfare. Because they've seen both ends. According to our last speaker, the people have seen both ends. So when you're talking about democracy that will not put food on your table, if the new guys in Gabon, in Mali, in Burkina Faso can provide good governance, so be it.
You mean the people will allow them, military, they will allow them to continue? Yeah, but well, no, we're looking at the situation.
See, I am not in support of military rule.
Military is not fashionable.
I don't want people to get me wrong.
Yeah.
I am not in support of military rule. But in a situation whereby civilian rule has disappointed the people, what do you expect? Look at what Kagame is doing in Rwanda. The man is a dictator, but is carrying his people along. There's good governance. Never in the history of that country, development has come to Rwanda.
Like the way they're having it.
They have it now. So what are we saying? In Nigeria, we have a democracy. Is that what are democracy giving to Nigerian people?
Yeah, it has given
since 1999.
Yeah, it has given 7.
We are buying a liter of oil now for 600 naira. Is that democracy that is taking Nigerians out of the gutter of misgovernance, insecurity, leaderlessness? 600 naira. We are buying gas per liter. What is the benefit of democracy? When the average people cannot access positive government.
All right. So in all this now, which I
am not advocate of military rule.
Yeah, because
I am a civil society person.
Know.
But give me the reality of the ground. Two people come to your house. One is giving you chicken. One is giving you gravel. What you go for the one giving you gravel?
Yeah, but don't you also think that the way the military now, the military coming into governance in Africa, they are not doing it on their own strength? I mean, in Gabon that we're talking about now, and of course in Niger, we saw the guy in Niger, Abdurrahman, trying to, rely on the Wagner, Russian forces in Wagner. Now, there are concessions now. We're talking about our resources here. Don't you understand? So don't you think that rather than allow the military to continue with allowing resources to go into the hands of their supporters, don't you think we should look more inward?
Okay. The civilian government, did they bring development to the people? Is it not under the civilian government that the economic resources are being assessed hook, line, and sinker by the French colonial power? Is it not through the civilian government? It is the civilian government.
So we think the military can...
So if the civilian government could not carry the people along...
So the military should come in?
The military should come in. Let them, for example, in Gabon now, they are saying they want to have a 2 years transitory period to stabilize the situation and return to democracy.
Even in Niger,
if they can do that.
Niger said 3 years. Gabon is said within the next 24 months now. That's about 2 years now. Now, the question we ask to that is that this time, to some people, for these countries that have been so impoverished by the former civilian leaders that maybe did not try after all, with the way some persons are saying it now. Now, do we think that these 2 years, these 3 years as it were, are they enough time to return these countries back to...
well, for me, I don't think so. Well, if you have a leadership that is focused...
Now, don't you think that the military may even bring people that will also be answerable to them? Because that's another concern too.
That's it. I see them putting their suits, in the name of civilian government.
So if that be the case, it means Africa...
At the end of the day, we will still be in a sorry situation. But what I just want to say is that I want to challenge the present military rulers in Francophone countries to side with the people. To just side with the people. Do the proper thing. Do the proper democratization process. And even if I bring in your stool, let us still be a nationalist. A nationalist.
Now, side with the people, maybe with the way they are going now, trying to bring civilian ministers into various parastatals.
I think the SYZ is bringing responsible leaders. if you have responsible leaders in the military, in the civilian divide, good for Africa. If you have responsible leaders in the military divide, good for Africa. So my point as a conflict resolution expert is that good leadership should come into place. Let it from the military, for the civilian contraption, because the important thing is the citizenry. Let the people have access to power. Let them have access to, to economic development. Let the people have food on their table. Let the people have developmental strides. To me, that is the essence of governance, either under democracy or under military.
All right, so as we draw
it's development
on this,
and progress.
As we draw conclusion on this topic this afternoon, let's begin to look at solutions now, because the issue of military taking over, military coming into governance is more or less like a repose. It's like a repo.
It's a child of necessity.
You drop it here, it begins to spread and all that. Though we are not looking at Francophone countries now, but you and I know that for some countries in West Africa that had the British experience, colonial experience, fears, have somehow gone down their spine that lets the military not come into power. Why some are also calling that military should come into power. But in a nutshell, what do you think should be the solution, to all this, so that whether we like it or not, the military is not fashionable in government. So
it's not fashionable.
What do you think should be the solution?
Dictatorship of the highest level.
So that we don't have military, making a conscience into governance.
I think the leaders should carry the people along. For instance, if the political leadership are on the side of the people, there will not be any need for military takeover. But the people were alienated. The people were put aside. Their wishes and aspirations were ignored. That's what led to the ripples, as you said. That what led to the recurring decimal military intervention in Francophone countries. Take side with the people, the civil society. For instance, if France, for instance, the French power has carried the civil society along, for instance, this thing happening will not be there. The civil society are not carried along.
The military now a civil society organization.
It's not, but we are talking of leadership now.
Yeah, military that we know are supposed to protect the territorial, boundaries of the nation. So for military to now be doing the job of civil society groups, don't you think it's suspicious? No,
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that those that were constitutionally empowered to do the bidding on the people, they neglected the people. So it's an extraordinary situation now.
Yeah.
That calls for leadership. So if the military junta can provide leadership, they need terrain. Let them provide leadership. Let them organize civilian democratization process. Let them put the best guys. Let there be democracy. Let people have access to power. Let them enjoy good democracy. Let them enjoy good governance. Let there be table on that table. That's the essence of governance. If those things are absent, then we're not talking of what is the meaning of government. Now, the government will take care of the people, secure them, empower them, let them be happy, let them have access to water, to food, to housing. But when all those basic necessities are not there, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, no, these countries we are talking about now they are facing one sanctions of the other. The question is, can they survive? Gabon is fixing one or two sanctions from African Union now, and of course from ECOWAS also too.
I know.
Can they survive?
But unfortunately, it's the people that will still suffer. They say when two elephants fight,
the grass will suffer.
The grass suffers.
Yeah.
So the important thing, if I'm to advise the military leadership all over Africa, so all over Francophone countries now, we're talking about Francophone countries, they should provide leadership. They provide leadership, I think they can survive. Because there's enough resources in those countries that can make them survive. We know most of the resources in Africa have been siphoned away by Western powers.
Yeah.
So if the new leaders can provide security, they can provide power, they can provide meaningful governance, I think they can survive.
And maybe in the next 15, 20, 30, or even 50 years, the resources that we're talking about now, they are going to be said that they are being siphoned to the Eastern powers.
I mean, the
Russia, yes,
or to the Chinese axis.
to Russia or to China.
Because when the Western democracy is failing, what do you expect? The Wagner group will come in.
They come in.
The communist people will come in. And they are giving people cheap loans. They give African country loans now. They become
at our expense.
At our expense. So it's a very tragic situation.
Yeah.
It's a very double-edged sword. But I think there's a way out. The way out is the African, the coups now, the heads of the junta in Francophone country. Yeah. Provide leadership. We've seen a situation before where Thomas Sankara provided leadership in Burkina Faso. Thomas Sankara. And because Thomas Sankara was providing leadership, the Western power connived and killed him. They brought a Blaise Compaoré that played the game of the French powers. And Bankole was there for several years and brought Burkina Faso into the mud before the coup struck again in Ouagadougou. What are we talking about? So if a Sankara can appear,
another can also appear too.
Yeah, if the Sankara could appear in Burkina Faso, a Sankara, not a name, in another human being, can appear in Mali,
in Niger, in
Gabon. Provide leadership. Okay, you know, pragmatic leadership that will take people out of the mud of underdevelopment.
Okay, I think
that is the situation we're at.
Yeah, we have to leave this issue here today because of time factor. In any case, the countries we're talking about now, the former French colonies that we have military coming into, they are numbering about this 6 now. I think with what happened in Gabon recently, about the 7th nation in Africa that former French colonies that the military have taken over. So what we are saying here is that for us to have solutions to all this, that the military, even as they make incursion into
provide leadership,
they should provide good leadership. And of course, we send some signals to other nations so that military will not come in again. All right, so I want to say a very big thank you to Nwita Igbutaku, an international conflict resolution expert, and of course a serial author of many books. Nwita, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And also to big brother friend, Dr. Logat Sado, all the way in UK. He's on sabbatical leave now, so we say a very big thank you for joining the program via Zoom today. My name is Evan Sunokuge. Until the same time on the same program, Africa Discourse. Goodbye and God bless you.